Welcome everyone. I'm Rowan Crockett, Grower Services Manager for our Northern region. I'll be your host for this webinar, which is being held in place of physical grower meetings for our Baradine, Premer, Tamarang, Spring Ridge, Caroona, Quirindi, Werris Creek and Willow Tree sites. 2020 has certainly already been a big year for everyone. And while a lot of things haven't gone to plan this year, one positive has been the return of some decent rainfall to our region. As a result, we find ourselves on the doorstep of what looks like being the best harvest for a number of seasons. While it's an exciting time for the industry, there is a lot riding on this crop, and we are not underestimating the importance of getting the crop off and into the bin to generate some badly needed cash flow for rural communities. This evening, you will hear updates on a variety of topics around delivering safely to your GrainCorp site this harvest. No doubt, some of the topics discussed will lead to further questions, and you've probably noticed by now the session is equipped with a chat feature on the right-hand side of your screen. You are more than welcome to put forward a question at any time, and we have left some time open at the end of the session to answer any questions which are not covered off by our speakers. If you do have a question, please fire away. And if we don't get to it at the end of the call, then someone will certainly give you a call following the webinar to discuss your particular question or issue. Given it's a busy time of year, I'll aim to wrap up the session in under an hour. So please understand that we may not be able to drill down into too many site-specific details, but we'll do our best to cover off what we can. To kick off our presentations this evening, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Klaus Paminger, our Chief Operating Officer, to say a few words. Good afternoon, Klaus. Thanks for joining us, and over to you.
Thank you, Rowan, and welcome to the GrainCorp webinar. Thank you all for dialing in. As Rowan said, I'm the Chief Operating Officer for GrainCorp, and I'm talking to you from our Wagga office today. We, and I know that you are, looking forward to successful harvest after a bad or a number of bad droughts. We're excited, and it will be a busy time for growers, the local community and GrainCorp. The team will give you an update, as Rowan said, to ensure a safe and efficient harvest will be experienced. Earlier this calendar year, GrainCorp demerged its malt business, which is now separately listed on the Australian Stock Exchange. This has left GrainCorp, grains and oils business, in a very strong financial position with zero debt. We've been preparing for harvest for some months now, as the outlook has been favourable for a period of time. We've procured or purchased and built more equipment, including stackers, drive-over hoppers, and we've ordered a large amount of new tarps. We've been moving equipment into position for a period of time, making sure the equipment is there when we need it, and have been active due to COVID to make sure we can get it there in time, on time. We've opened 3,000 casual positions for this harvest, and I can share with you that we've had more than 5,000 applicants, so we're confident we can fill all our casual positions. I've mentioned COVID before, so has Rowan, and we've been preparing for a COVID harvest. To do that, we've changed our delivery process to make sure we keep you, our customers, and our staff safe. We will continue to use our digital platforms to make sure you are connected well to our Fastway process, Crop Connect, Croptimizer, and we will continue to offer a 2-day payment. So our investments into our digital platforms have us equipped well for this upcoming harvest. On behalf of GrainCorp and all of us, we wish you a safe and prosperous harvest. Any questions, don't hesitate to ask the team, and thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Klaus. Appreciate your time and look forward to seeing you up in the region in the near future for an exciting time. As I mentioned earlier, 2020 has certainly been a year of surprises, and I'm certain most would agree COVID-19 has been the biggest of them all. At GrainCorp, we're certainly taking the COVID situation very seriously, and I'd now like to welcome our next guest, Luke Vanderworth, Regional Operations Manager for Northern New South Wales, to share with us his team's plan to ensure our customers and staff remain safe this harvest and our sites remain open for deliveries. Welcome, Luke. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Rowan. Welcome all, and thanks for joining the Grow webinar for today. As Klaus touched on, we've been working on plans for COVID since it began back in early March. We've actually had a reverse supply chain this year, and which growers will understand is that Werris Creek's been a bit of a hive of activity, and we're having to feed a lot of domestic homes in the area. So we've been working in the COVID space for most of the year across most of our sites. So we've been practicing the COVID rules, and we've just had to adapt them for the receival process that's going to happen very shortly. So today I'll go through what changes we're putting in place from a receival point of view. There is some different changes, but look, the whole idea of this is to ensure that the supply chain operates through harvest and that we don't have any issues with COVID. And again, it is a bit of a change, but we are focusing on making sure that the supply chain operates the whole way through. Some of the changes, which will be a big change for some growers, is that we're keeping all growers and visitors out of the sample stand and weigh bridges, and I'll go through a bit of detail about how we are going to ensure that you can still have samples completed and still deliver your grain safely. So the first step will be is we will have to contract trace at sites for all visitors and truck drivers as they come onto site, and to manage that, we'll be putting in a QR code scanning system, very similar to most other public venues. So as you roll into your site, you'll have a QR code either on the weighbridge sample stand. You'll grab your phone. You'll have to download the app. It'll only take about a minute the first time to process, and then every time after that, as you come to the site, you scan that code. You'll be done within about 30 seconds. So that's the way we trace when people arrive on site, and that'll be done for every time a visitor arrives to the site. You will be able to do a manual version if there's anyone out there that doesn't have a smartphone or knows how to operate or doesn't have a phone, but we still encourage everyone to use the QR scanning process to track everyone. The next change is we do have an updated delivery advice form. It's now on our grower on our website. You can also talk to your site manager, area manager to get copies of these Word docs. We're also developing paper-based versions to be at site if people turn up and require a delivery advice form. And we're requesting that every load will require a new delivery advice form, and it'll have all the detail in there like paddock, NGR, all the details that we need to stream the process of the receivals. And also any grower samples that come from the paddock at the start of harvest or during harvest, we're asking that they're in a Ziploc bag and they have a grower delivery advice slip in it. You just place that at the sample stand, we'll take it, we'll sample it, and then we'll contact you as soon as possible with any of the details that you're required to understand from your sample. We've also removed the option for cash or transfer to contract at weighbridge. So now it'll just go straight into warehouse. You have two options then. If you wish to transfer or cash, you can do it via Crop Connect, or you can call the 1-800 number, the grower hotline, which is based out of Tamworth, and just talk to them and they can transfer on your behalf over the phone. We still have live pricing at site. You'll be able to see that. We'll have that hanging up in the sample stands. We'll change it regularly during the day. And the last change is no transfer of clipboards around the site. So as a truck driver leaves the weighbridge to go down the back to the site to unload, he will turn up the hopper and he will show the hopper attendant his receival docket. And in that area where we usually see the grade and the bin, we have actually beefed that up and made it a bit bigger, bolded it. So you just hang it up, show your hopper attendant, he'll visually inspect it, and then you put it back in the truck and unload your truck. From there, you just proceed back out to the tear-off bridge and grab your docket when you leave. And so that's about it, Rowan, I think, for the COVID piece. Open to any questions, mate.
Yeah, look, certainly seems pretty practical to me, and don't see it causing people. I think it'll become habit pretty quickly. I guess the $1 million question is do you have a view on what it might do to truck turnaround times? Any thoughts there?
Oh, look, I'm very confident. I think it'll speed it up because we do see that at the sample stand there is a large amount of time taken up entering the details, and not every driver has the details. That seems to take the time. Wrong NGR, wrong variety, wrong paddock ID, all that stuff should be basically completed and filled out and streamline that process, and fits really well with Fastway. And then the same thing with the removal of cash or contract at the weighbridge. We tend to see that it's a wrong contract number, don't know which is the best price at that time, and they tend to slow down that weighbridge as well. So it should speed that sample stand to weighbridge process up significantly, I hope. And we've seen that with outturn. We've been outturning from Werris Creek. The driver from outload is not standing around the sample stand or the weighbridge. He's basically in out a lot quicker from an outturn point of view.
Very good. No, it sounds like there might even be a small positive out of it, which is pleasing to see. Luke, look, I guess a few more questions for you, and you've probably touched on a couple of these topics, but just wanted to clarify them because there are various versions of the truth going around, or what we may or may not be doing. So just a couple of quick questions to clarify some of those. The first one is there was some talk of drivers not being allowed out of their trucks, and therefore GrainCorp staff would be unrolling tarps and cracking tailgates this year. Is that true?
No, nothing's changed there. The truck driver still is in charge of his truck. He'll roll his tarps. He'll open his tailgate. The whole idea for us is just to try and minimise contact between visitors, truck drivers and our staff to make sure that we don't have any issues during harvest. So, and work inside the COVID-safe government regulations. That's all we're trying to do to ensure that we are following correct procedure.
Great. The next one was just that GrainCorp doesn't want to do grower samples anymore, so we won't be accepting them this year. Is that the case?
No, we'll still be doing them. Just the change is you'll need a clean Ziploc bag, a new one, with a new grower delivery advice in it with all your details. You place that up at the sample stand or the bird cage, as you would like to call it, pass it through the window. We'll get to it as soon as possible, and with the contact details on there, we'll get back to you as soon as possible with the results.
Great. I guess another one is will my truck drivers still be getting a delivery advice when they leave the site?
Yeah, they will. They'll still get the same docket when they leave, their receivable docket. If they require two, one for the contractor themselves and one for the grower, we can do a reprint. But at this stage, one is printed out, and they'll still get one bit of paper to record the delivery.
Very good. And the final one from me is just, you mentioned every load will need a pre-populated delivery advice when the truck turns up. What will happen if my truck turns up without one? Will they be sent home?
Your truck won't be sent home, but look, we just got to work together as a group here. And the main thing is if they do turn up without a delivery advice, simple thing is they should pull to the side before they queue up at the sample stand. They should pull off to the side. They can either walk up to the sample stand, and we'll have blank copies there that they can fill out by hand. But again, I'm encouraging everybody to pre-populate if possible. Again, it'll speed it up, it'll streamline the process and stop any issues that we have at harvest with too many people congregating around the top of the sample stand.
Great. Thanks, Luke. Appreciate your time and good luck with the next couple of months.
Thanks, Ron.
Our next guest this evening is Scott Mitchell. Will be well known to a lot, I'm sure, on the call. Scott's our area manager for the Werris Creek region. Evening, Scott. Welcome and thanks for joining us. I'll throw over to you.
Yes, thank you, Ron. And first of all, good afternoon to everyone, and thank you for taking the time to attend. It's good to catch up with everyone in this larger format of a meeting, which we haven't had the need to do in the last couple of years, obviously. I'll give a bit of an overview on what we've been up to on the lead up of harvest. And first of all, I suppose just to let you know, we do obviously understand the size of the crop and also the importance of this crop due to the last couple of years of drought. We've been busy rebuilding our core permanent staff, and I'm very, very confident the team that we have now are very capable and also very customer focused as well. I have all the confidence in the world with the team that we have now that will get through this big harvest and do it well. We've been busy also recruiting the last couple of months casual staff. We're up to around 80-odd staff now, which includes staff to be able to do double shifts at Premer, Spring Ridge and Werris Creek sites. They're pretty much all locked in now and just locking them in for training and getting them up to speed on the process for the season. Just a bit of an update on the overload policy this year. So if a truck comes in over the 4.9%, we'll no longer be turning the truck around. The grower, the NGR email address will still get an email notifying of the overload and also a text message, but we'll still receive the truck. But it is worthwhile noting that the RMS still do get copies of all our dockets just for our requirement to be able to participate in the grain harvest management scheme. So it's obviously not a free-for-all. I'm not sure if you had any questions for me, Rowan.
Look, probably the first one was just, you've mentioned there, looking like a big harvest coming at us. Is there anything you've been able to do to increase capacity or turnaround times?
Yeah, so first of all, like I said, on the double shifts for Premer, Spring Ridge and Werris Creek, those sites have the capability to do up to 24 hours if need be, if the demand was there. And then on tonnage-wise, Spring Ridge bunker has started yesterday. It's getting a revamp, so we haven't used it for around 10 years. It'll have a stacker lane in it. It'll be modernised a bit, and so it'll add an extra 25,000 tonne of capacity for the Spring Ridge site. It'll also speed up turnaround time with a 400 tonne an hour stacker on it. So we'll have all the permanent storage that we already had, plus a 400 tonne an hour stacker there as well. And also, Werris Creek has just been completed. It has the two of the bunkers there have also had stacker lanes added to them. It won't increase the capacity of the site, although we haven't really had any capacity issues there. But what it will do, it should halve the turnaround time of that site. We usually only had the one hopper there receiving grain while ever there was a train. So now we'll have the drive over capability on the bunker and potentially do durum onto the bunker and wheat onto the permanent storage, which will speed up turnaround time. So we're not having to change the elevator over from wheat and durum and move trips and so on. So which is really exciting and good to see how that's going to work this year. We're all very excited for those improvements and be great to test them out.
Right, you mentioned there a couple of the segs you'll be taking at Werris Creek, but can you just give us a run through the whole region, sort of what you're taking where and your plans there?
Yep. So there is a few changes, but I'll start at Baradine. So Baradine will still be all grades of wheat. No change out there. Premer will be all grades of wheat and canola. There'll be no durum at Premer this year. Just for the sheer amount of canola and wheat that's out there, we're trying to, again, speed up turnaround times, but also make more capacity at Premer for canola. Because if Premer canola did fill, it'd be a bit of a drive down to Willow Tree, whereas we have the Tamarang site open this year for wheat. And Tamarang, so it'll take all grades of wheat, but also the SFW wheat. We're well aware that there's plenty of growers out there with dual purpose wheat in that can only go a feed grade or an ASW variety. So we have that option there. Spring Ridge will take all grades of wheat and durum. There'll be no chickpeas there or along the plains anywhere. The reasoning behind that is just trying to speed up our capacity. And every time we took a chickpea truck, we had to turn the elevators off, change the trippers, clean the system out for a truck, and then swap back again to wheat. So it's we're just trying to focus on what we do best: the wheat, the durums, the canolas, and do them well instead of clogging the system up with chickpeas. Moving on to Caroona is also an SFW. grade shed there, so anyone, again, with the lower grades can have the capacity to go to Caroona, will cover the other end of sort of the plains. Werris Creek is all grades of wheat and durum there as well, and again, no chickpeas at Werris Creek. And Caroona will take feed grade barley, and it's a 28,000 tonne shed there at Quirindi. Then the last one is Willow Tree. Willow Tree is all grades of wheat and also canola as well.
Very good. Sounds like you've got all the bases covered there. Look, the other one I was going to ask you about is just your team. I think there's a few new faces in between the veterans. Can you just give us a quick run through who's looking after each side?
Yep, I'll just go run through the sites again. So Peter Thompson, as everyone knows him as Barney, is still out at Baradine, very familiar face. Mark Bruce is running Premer. A lot of people would know Mark as well. Drew McCluskey is a new face. He'll be at the Tamarang site. He's been with us about 6 months, but he's a very capable person. Jason Flett is our new site manager at Spring Ridge. He will be running the Spring Ridge team. Caroona is Drew Bird, is also a new face to the team, and again, another very capable person as well. Joel McKay is still looking after Werris Creek. Anyone living into there would know Joel. He's been there for 13 years. Terry Ward will be down at Willow Tree, which a lot of people would probably have already run into Terry. And then Brad Smith will be at Quirindi looking after that one. He's based at Werris Creek. He works for most of the year at Werris Creek, but he'll be looking after the Quirindi side as well. So he's got a fair bit of experience as well, which is great.
Great. Thanks, Scott. Sounds like, everyone's on board and ready to go. Look, one final one from me, and I think a lot of people always say it's the key to a successful harvest is communication. Just wondering if you could give us a few of your thoughts on both what you're looking to hear from growers leading into and during harvest and or you and your team, and also, I guess, how you'll be communicating with growers once things kick off.
Yeah, so we always love to, the more amount of communication, the better, especially from growers if you're earlier on in the season and looking to come in for a sample, or if you're predicting to start in a couple of days. It's always good to give us a call, give the site manager or myself a call, just let us know that you're coming. It just makes it much easier from a staffing point of view. As you'd be well aware, some of our casuals do come from the coast or wherever, although most are local. It just makes things much easier. And also, like I mentioned, with the double shift sites, if you are looking to deliver sort of after the midnight, we can make sure we've got the staff there and we can open it right up instead of pushing them onto sewing tarps and whatever on the bunkers. So I have the TIM messaging system this year, which we had in 16 and the last couple of years, which is a Telstra messaging system, which a lot of people would have already got, which is the GrainCorp text messaging system. So if you're not already on that one, there'll be still emails coming out from the GrainCorp grower services to opt into those, and we'll also have the numbers up at all of the sites, and the managers will also know the numbers. So if you want to opt into that one to get opening hours, or if there was a breakdown or a power outage or whatever, we can jump straight on the computer and send those messages out before the trucks leave the paddock, so people can make other arrangements if need be, if the site was down for whatever reason. Tim?
Great. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate your time tonight, and fingers crossed that we keep everything ticking over. It's going to be a busy couple of months. Appreciate your time.
Yes, thank you.
Next up tonight, we've got Mitch Wheaton, who's a grain marketer for our Werris Creek region. Welcome, Mitch, and thanks for your time tonight.
Hi, Rowan, and good afternoon all, and thanks for joining today.
Mitch, I guess we've had a couple of pretty tough years, and a lot of people haven't delivered for a few seasons. Have you got any tips on what people should try and tick off before the harvest does come around to make sure they're ready to deliver?
Yeah, look, a couple of points, and I guess just as we head into the harvest period, where we can help out in getting yourselves prepared. I guess starting with just updating your NGR details. Look, it's fairly important this year that those, particularly any additional contacts that may transact as part of your business that are listed on your NGRs, particularly important this year if through our Croptimizer and accessing the grower hotline. So strongly recommend you cross-check your details on NGR are flowing through correctly, and feel free to sing out if you've got any questions there. Another one would be, following that, is your Crop Connect login details. Worth getting familiar and double-checking your details are active. It's going to be a very important platform this harvest. It will be a central location for accessing all your deliveries, as well as transacting on behalf of your account. So if you've got any questions there, worth looking in and getting familiar with the platform. And also mentioned on the delivery advice forms. So you may be wondering, where do I find these forms? They will be sent out if you haven't already got a copy. They are available on our website. There will be copies available at your local site, and also in the lead up to harvest, we'll be able to provide printed booklets, which you'll be able to pick up from your site if needed, but strongly recommend if you do have the ability to pre-populate your forms and have them ready to go with your truck. It may just save a little bit extra work at harvest time.
Thanks, Mitch. Some good tips there. Look, you did briefly touch on Crop Connect. If I haven't logged in for a while, or indeed haven't yet signed up to Crop Connect, can you give us a bit of a feel for what I can expect to see there when I log in? What's changed over the last couple of years?
Look, starting with, and a fairly important one this year, will be the ability to complete your title transfer via Crop Connect. So you will have the ability to transfer to contract cash or pools via Crop Connect. Worth getting familiar with that platform on the transfer function. Also, has those, you may have been familiar with the live marketplace. I guess a number of functions have been built into that itself in the last couple of years. Gives growers the access to live bids, as well as the ability to place offers at your target price and have them listed ready to transact. The final one just to point out is just the ability to access your accounting functions. So your RCTIs, your storage invoices, and your delivery summaries will be available via Crop Connect this year. So worth getting familiar with those tabs on the platform.
Great, thank you. Sounds like it's well worth the 5 minutes to make sure your password's up to date and you can get in there. Look, the other one that came up earlier, I think it was Luke, touched on the fact that all loads will automatically default to warehouse this season, and the cash or transfer at Bridge won't be available due to the concerns around COVID. Can you just give us a feel for what warehousing means and what growers should understand about that warehousing if they've traditionally been a cash seller or transferred onto contracts?
So the important one to remember is that when you're warehousing your grain, this year you will receive month of delivery +2, which is an additional month free storage from previous seasons. So remember that even though your grain is being warehoused, there is opportunities while the grain is in warehouse also, while you have that free storage period, to look to access, for instance, your Croptimizer. It's worth touching base and just having a look through your account while your grain is in warehouse, and just remember you may have the ability and eligible loads to Croptimize.
Great, thanks, Mitch. And just on that, Croptimizer isn't new, but is, not everyone's familiar with Croptimizer and what it means for growers. Can you just give us a quick summary there of what Croptimizer is and why we think it adds value to growers?
So Croptimizer, yes, we're operating this year, and it isn't a new platform itself, but it is available for wheat, barley, and durum this harvest. So to put it simply, Croptimizer gives growers the opportunity to extract some value some extra value in those delivered equity based on a 3-point criteria. So to run through the 3-point criteria, firstly, a grower needs to hold the quality equity within the site. So it's to hold a balance of delivered quality via a number of grades in the one site. Secondly, the grower for the ticket does need to be eligible. So it does need to be within set parameters on protein, test weight, and screenings to qualify. And finally, needs to line up with site stack quality. So this is the final tick to allow potential eligibility of a ticket. So if all three line up, it's probably worth noting, and as commented on the NGR details, so growers that have their mobile registered on your NGR, if you do have eligible load, you will receive throughout a set time SMS reminder to check that you do have an eligible load and is worth touching base with the grower hotline. So the grower hotline, which is available on the 1-800 grains number, will be the centre point for Croptimizer this harvest. So worth getting familiar with the grower hotline from that function. The team's based out of Tamworth, so they're there to take any of your queries, but particularly on Croptimizer. If you do have a reminder to check your eligibility on loads, give the team a call, and you may have the ability to upgrade a load or two.
Great. Thanks, Mitch. And look, just one final one from me before I let you go. Just around grain markets and pricing, who should growers be contacting if they're after a bit more information there?
If you're looking for any more information as you lead up into harvest, you can contact myself or any one of the marketing team based out of Tamworth. Our centre hotline number is available on the email pack following this webinar, but just generally, feel free to contact any one of us. We're here to assist on all pricing inquiries. We're very excited about the 2-day payment terms this harvest. Just to note also that your live pricing will also be available via Crop Connect this harvest, so worth referencing that. And also, just getting familiar with Crop Connect and the pricing function there. Look, just closing out, wishing all growers a safe harvest this harvest, and feel free to sing out if you've got any queries following this meeting. Thanks.
Great. Thanks, Mitch. Appreciate your time. Look, that's it for our presenters in this afternoon's session. We do have a few questions that have come through and have got some time to answer those. So I'll just call back all of our presenters and fire away with a couple of questions. Look, the first one I'll probably throw to you, Luke, and that's what happens if my site fills this harvest?
Look, we're very aware that it is a large crop coming at us. As Scotty's put a fair few plans across his cluster to go double shifts where possible. We don't have the ability to do that at every site. As he said, we've got a new team, and we've come out the back of a drought too. So we're trying to make sure we have got certain sites either side of a site that may need to go longer. If I start in the north, like Baradine, Canamble, we have got another 2 stackers there, plenty of capacity there. It ran quite well in 2016, punching out about 22,000 tonne a day. Hoping to see that again up that way. You come back down to Premer. Scotty spoke about how to simplify his segs there to make sure we've got plenty of space, and then there's Spring Ridge, extra bunker space there, and then Werris Creek's probably the big one for the plains. We didn't have the ability to unload direct to bunker in 16, so everything went straight into the silo. We now have the ability to, there's probably 80,000 tonne of bunker space there. We can put a stacker and a drive over, so very aware of it. Can't fix every site, but we've tried to, where we can, do our best and take a bit more room. And there's always rail if the export market kicks in at the right time for us to be able to execute certain grades.
Great. Thanks, Luke. And while it's never ideal, at least we have got backups in place, which I think is positive. Look, for the next one, I might quickly introduce Matt Simon, who's our Quality Assurance Manager based up in Toowoomba. Matt's joined us just to help cover off if there are any quality questions, which we have got one. So welcome, Matt. Look, the question that's come through is someone's noticed on our delivery advice that there is a requirement to declare glyphosate for in-crop use. Can you just give us a little bit of an update on as to why that is?
Yeah, thanks, Rowan. Good afternoon, everyone. Rowan, first up, all chemical applications need to be declared at the sample stand. But in relation to barley, our samplers will ask the grower or their representative whether glyphosate has been added to the crop as a desiccant. If the load has had glyphosate applied, then the maximum grade that this load can achieve is BAR1. If the load did not have glyphosate on it, then it is eligible for malting grade, obviously depending on the varietal and the quality results. Also with durum this year, we are also asking whether glyphosate has been applied to it. And while there are MRLs for durum, we have some custom requirements for some nil treated stock, so just to meet their customer obligations. So we will also record that and take a varietal sample of all loads of durum at the stand.
Great, thank you. Look, while I've got you, there is also one that's popped up relating to canola. Is there anything specifically with canola that we need to know around declaring treatments and also residue sampling?
Yeah, sure. In previous seasons, we have had high levels of haloxyflop detected in canola. Some of our export and domestic customers have MRLs as low as 0.01 on export and domestic per parts per million. So we take a representative sample from every load that's received into the bin, and then every 1,000 tonnes, we send that composite sample to the lab for testing. If we do have high levels of chemicals detected, we're able to identify all loads that make up that sample, and then we're able to test those varietal samples that are retained at site. So basically, we have traceability down to a load level. But really, Rowan, at the end of the day, if growers follow the labelled instructions and ensure that they apply chemicals at the correct stage of the crop cycle, we shouldn't see any MRL issues.
Great. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it. Look, one final one here, and I might pick on Mitch for this one, and that just relates to overloaded trucks and where the overload tons will end up this year. Previously, there was a charity bin running. Mitch, can you just give us an update on whether that's the case? We might have lost Mitch there. Maybe I'll cover that one off and so answer my own question. No, there won't be a charity bin this year. So the full delivered load will end up in a grower's account, and they will be able to market that as they choose. But just a reminder, as Scott said, that our records are able to be viewed by the RMS. So please consider that when deciding, how much to load on your trucks this year. Look, that's it from questions. So that concludes our webinar for this evening. If you do have any follow-up questions, we'd certainly encourage you to reach out to the appropriate people prior to harvest. We will be sending out a contact list detailing everybody that's applicable for your region in the next couple of days. So please keep an eye out for that email and update your phones prior to getting busy. And look, that's really it from me. Thank you very much for your attendance and wish everyone a safe and trouble-free harvest. Thank you.